Get out of your collar? Did you get out of your collar? Somebody got out of their collar. Huskies are escape artists, aren't you? Okay, what's mommy doing? What's mommy doing, huh? What's mommy doing? This is Lexi. This is our Siberian Husky. She's about, how old is she? She's about 18 months old, I think. She's about 18 months old. So, but anyway, this is Chef and Builder Janie Pendleton. We're back in the house where I'm going to teach you how to load up your long-term and short-term food storage buckets, okay? Now, basically, you don't have to put the investment into these that a lot of people are putting into these. You just don't have to. Mostly, you're going to put your food and your grains and your beans, you're going to dry can them, and you want to keep that in glass. You can do the Mylar and put your dry goods in Mylar, but to be honest with you, puncture a Mylar bag. Mice can chew through plastic. They can chew through Mylar bags. They can chew through this. Your best bet is to dry can and get the eggs and the pest off, and get those little pests off by putting them in glass jars and dry canning them. And if it's short-term food storage, then just leave them in their bags and throw them in here, and then grab and go. Okay, but you still want to find a way to kill these and the pests and the eggs and stuff in here. That's why I suggest dry canning and putting them in glass jars. And you can go right here, and you can watch that video, and it's a simple process. It's one of the easiest things you can do, and you let the oven kill all the larvae and the eggs and the little things that can hatch and crawl out and cause little shells to be laying around. One way in your food storage to find out what has been in there is if you can see little shell casings and stuff on your wheat or your grains or your beans, then you'll know something's in there crawling around and eating it. Okay, so here we have two different types of buckets. Both are food grade buckets, but one you can brine in and one you shouldn't probably brine in, which means one you can put food like frostings and whatever straight into here. But the other one that is not labeled, right here, this label right here, if I can get this to tip up, it says food grade, heavy duty, BPA free, and it's got the food and beverage label right here from the USDA, which means, and I picked these up at Tractor Supply. I'm not advertising them, but that is where I got these buckets. They were a little more expensive. They're not much taller or bigger, or they don't really hold anymore, but I got these buckets, which are just plain white, but they're food grade as well. And I know that because on the bottom, it has the arrows chasing themselves in a triangle, and inside of that, it has the number 2. So we know, here's a good, excuse me, because it says HDPE. Okay, see that right there? It's got the arrows chasing each other with the number 2. And I'm going to hold this up to you closer so you can see that. Make sure that you don't get your lids mixed up with each other, because we know that this lid goes with this, but we know this lid goes with this right here. They say the same thing on top, but we know that this and this was made at the same factory, and we know that they're both food grade safe as far as wet foods go. I have some great packing tips for you today when you're packing your long-term food storage. Number one, when I pack salt, I always get the iodized salt. We know that helps you keep from getting orders and stuff like that. And then I use another bucket for my canning supply salt and stuff like that. So here we are. Here we have this. Here we hit some sales. This was the dollar store. This was Walmart. So we've hit sales with coupons and different things. Now, I've just sat these inside this bucket, and I used the actual food grade bucket because just in case one of these leaked or it leaked salt, I wanted to make sure that I could definitely eat my salt if something were to happen. And we just kept them in the containers just like this. But here, I just took a pint-sized wide mouth canning jar, and I took the top off of a Parmesan cheese container. See that? It's got the little holes here, or it's got the pour spout here where I can get a spoon, in and out. And you will see that this fits a wide mouth canning jar. Isn't that genius? And here I can just sprinkle my salt on, Or I can take my measuring spoon or my spoon or what have you, and I can get some out of right here. So I really like that idea. So I put this, and you can put a regular salt shaker in here if you have a large salt shaker or like one of those twisty things. But I'm just using this because I'm using my salt shakers right now, and I don't want to go out and buy some, even if they are cheap. Maybe I can pick some up at a garage sale or something. But for now, this worked for me. And you can even take in dried cheese as well, or anything, and you can put in here. So this is just a genius idea right here for that. So I was messing around one day and I thought, man, I hate to throw away things. And we had a Parmesan cheese container, and I was just went like that and went like that, and it went right on. It screwed right on, and I thought, genius. Sometimes I'm good for something. So so there you go. And you can put all kinds of things in here. I mean, these lids fit. Even if you put tools or like little bolts and nuts in here, these lids still fit, and you can still pull out some nuts and bolts or whatever. So a great lid right here for, you know, in your workshop, gluing it to the top. So great lid. So now we're just going to stick that down in here, so I'll have a glass jar. And you don't want to fill this with salt or anything like that. You want to keep it empty. And you know, it just fits right in here. So in one of these buckets, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we got 14 containers of salt of this size right here in here. And you could get a couple of the long skinny rolls of sea salt in here as well. And the glass jar. All right? Now, what you don't want to do is you do not want to store your pepper in with the salt. And I'm going to tell you why. Smell your pepper can. Yeah, you can really smell the pepper. You're going to want to store this in a separate container. So we're not going to lay the pepper in here. You don't want to put any other spices in here because the salt will pick up the flavor and the rice will pick up the flavor of other spices. So let's say you got a big thing of cinnamon here. Don't put that in there either. You don't want your salt to pick up the flavors of other spices, okay? So now what we're going to do here is we're going to put on the top, and we're just going to label the top. This right here's a little harder. We're going to label the top salt. And then let's make sure I spell it right. Iodized. And then I'm going to write the number that I have in here. Now I just wrote salt iodized on the front. And then here I'm going to find a blank spot here. I'll just put it right here. And I'm going to write salt. I'll write that there's 14 iodized salts. Okay, there's 14 of those. See that? I just wrote that on there. So when I set this in my storage and I got these buckets stacked up, I can just read on here what's on the list of each item. All right, so there's room in here for some more salt, so I'm just going to set this here for now. And remember, I put that one in the food grade bucket from Tractor Supply because I know that it can handle the rice around it or whatever. In an emergency, I would eat the rice. You know, if it was a real big emergency, of course I'd eat the rice. So I just want to make sure. But I mean, if it's that bad of an emergency, you're really not going to care. Now behind me here is a green bucket or a collared bucket. They say not to put your food in collared buckets, even if it says it's BPA free. So I'm going to leave that up to you. I really don't use collared buckets. I only use the white buckets for food storage. So I use the green bucket back here to carry potatoes in from the garden or vegetables or what have you. And I use the green bucket from Menards. I use that for my laundry detergent. So so I don't even store food in it at all. So, all right. So the next bucket, the white buckets, the buckets that are food grade that have the little triangle arrows chasing each other with the number 2 HDPE written on it. That means they're food grade, BPA free. That's fine, but they're for dry goods. You can even pick these up from like your bakery and they have frosting and stuff in them. I say if the bakery and the factory store frosting in them without a liner, then they're probably safe enough for your food as well. But I store contained goods in here, like shampoos, conditioners, dry goods that don't have to be in a jar, that the little pests and bugs won't get to, toothpaste, toothbrushes. So here I just took some tape, just some regular packaging tape, and I taped the lids closed on all of my shampoo, body wash, and conditioners. I just put a piece of tape on there to make sure those stayed closed, and I kept them in the container. I could have filled this container up all the way with shampoo. It would have been fine. There's a preservative in here. It would have been fine, but I didn't want to risk it, and I would rather be able to take out one and take it to a state park shower or take it to wherever I'm going to go, get cleaned up or whatever. I'd rather have that, with me. And if you want, you can put another little empty bottle or filled bottle of shampoo in here that's smaller, and then you can just keep refilling that little bottle for your bug out bag or whatever. So I plan on getting a little package of small bottles in here. So you can tape that up. These are body washes. Now this bucket here contains some of my, so we've got a bucket of toothpaste. I'm going to put some more in here, so, because it'll hold more toothpaste, but toothbrushes. I have 14 toothbrushes in here. All of these free from the dentist that we've been collecting, or things that we got at the dollar store with coupons that was like 50 or 25 cents each. And then I got a few that of course were my favorite, which was like $1.97 after the coupon. So they were a little bit more expensive, but I would use these probably first. Shampoos, things like that are in here. All of our favorite shampoos. I got shampoos for everybody in here. So everybody's shampoos are in there. And then again, we're just going to pack this in here. Now I've got room in here for a few more things, and then the body wash is here. But you can use shampoo for body wash as well. I just they were on sale, so I got a few. My favorite scents. Okay, so, and I've got room in here for some more, tissues or some more Colgate toothpaste. So, and then what I did here, oops, wrong bucket. And I'll write on the top what I've got in here so I can read it. And what I've got here is I wrote bath supplies, 11 shampoos, 16 toothbrushes, 3 toothpaste, 3 eyeliner pencils, and 2 body washes. Okay, and then I've left room here for if there's anything else or I change what's in here. So this is what is inside this bucket. And when I stack these buckets, I'll make it so I can read what's in here when I'm stacking them. Okay, so there's that. And it just goes on like this, I'm going to take and I'm going to dry can the beans and the soup beans. These will all get dry canned. So this bucket will be free soon. Now you're asking me, what else do I put in a bucket? This is what other people have asked me. Well, obviously you can put toilet paper in a bucket or what have you, but I just pack toilet paper. The mice seem to leave the toilet paper alone because it's not a food. Sometimes when mice are looking for a place to make a nest or whatever, they're more likely to chew on a cushion from outside or something, like an outdoor cushion or something, or an old sleeping bag, because they want that, that fluffiness of it. So most likely they leave things like a paper towel and toilet tissue. They usually leave that alone. I've not had an issue with it. And we have mice. We live in the middle of the country, the middle of the cornfield, USA, and we have a lot of mice, don't we, dear?
Yeah, we put poison out for them, though.
Yeah, we have mice. We don't have any mice in the house because we put poison out for them. I haven't seen a mouse in this house yet, and we've been here almost a decade, but we keep the poison out around the house. And that's another thing. If you have a cat, if you have snakes, don't get rid of them. Make sure that they're out there because they're getting rid of your little pests too. Make sure you feed them and your barn cats because they keep the rats and the mice down on the low down. Our biggest problem out here are actually rabbits because they're chewing my apple trees. Even though I'm wrapping them up, our blizzards get so deep they can get up in the branches and they get up in the branches of the trees and they chew off my branches, just the bark. And then that keeps the water, the water from the nutrients going up into the tree, and it's killing my apple trees. They like apple trees, and they don't eat the peach tree bark, but they eat the apple tree bark. And I think we lost our cherry tree from it as well, so they like that. So if you have an orchard, you're thinking about starting to put up an orchard, be sure and put up some landscape fabric and maybe even a wire fence around it up pretty high in the winter so that they won't chew on your bark, especially if you have deep snows. But most of you probably already knew that. I didn't, and I almost lost my orchard. And I was just getting apples too, wasn't I, John?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, another one is Coffee filters. Coffee filters are inexpensive and they're great for filtering water before you pour it into your Berkey or your other water filters. These are great for backpacking. Just fold up a few and put in your backpack or your bug out bag. But coffee filters to me are very, very, very important. Very important. I mean, the multiple uses for these are just amazing. Pouring your broths through these and letting them drain when you're making stocks or what have you. There's a lot of uses for coffee filters. You can go online and look up uses for coffee filters. I mean, you could even in emergency use one for a fire starter. They actually take a few seconds to burn. So you could get a nice hot fire with a coffee filter dipped in maybe a little bit of wax or something. That would be on the low down emergency, okay? But, cause I have fire starters, but your best bet is to learn how to start a fire without a fire starter, okay? The good old-fashioned way. You can do it. Take a class on it. It's fun. Other things you want to store are your favorite spices. If you're not growing herbs, grow them year-round. You can grow them and bring them in and bring them into your kitchen and from the winter. You can dig them up and keep them going for the winter. Or you can do what I did over here and dry them. And you can go here and I'll put up that link on how to dry your herbs. Very easy, very fun. It's a great hobby, and if you don't do anything else, you can do that, and it makes for great stocks. Ground cinnamon, things like that. These things right here, you want to get on sale when you can, buy in bulk when you can. This was $3 for this cinnamon versus this great value cinnamon, which was $1.15. So just a comparison I wanted to show you. Those can get stored in here. Your pepper can get stored in with that. That's fine, because these are in a plastic container. They're not in a paper container like the salt was in, the cardboard container. Other things that I store are, I'll just tip this forward so you can see it. Chocolate chips, and I kept them in the tin, in the container in the tin. And this gives me a tin later on, so I can store other dry goods like flour or whatever. When I dip it out, I can dry it in the tin. So I'm using things that are recyclable for me. Cairo syrup, regular maple syrup. These things last forever in here. Grandma's molasses, it's just a burnt form of sugar, you know, sugar cane. So, and this is how you make your brown sugar. So instead of storing brown sugar and it getting all hard, go here and I'll teach you how to make brown sugar. And it's just molasses and sugar. Okay, just mix molasses and sugar together. Darker brown sugar, add more molasses. Lighter brown sugar, add less molasses. I just whip it up in my KitchenAid. And I've got a half-gallon jar of brown sugar up here now, and it will stay good for at least 3 to 5 years vacuum sealed in the glass jars. But like this, I don't even have to store brown sugar. That's just the stuff I'm using. All right, so, and I put this, because it's not food touching the actual bucket, I put this in the BPA-free Walmart bucket, okay? Because it can handle any type of food content that's in a container. These are just my opinions on it, okay? This is just what I do. You do what you gotta do. I'm just trying to help you, and people ask me how I do it. This is what I do. I never discussed it before because I was afraid people would think I was nuts. But this is how John and I do it. Alright, put this in here. Now, so all your spices and everything can go in this one right here. Just don't put your spices in with your salt. And as long as they're in plastic containers. Dried herbs as well can go in here as long as they're in plastic containers or glass containers, okay? And you can vacuum seal those in little glass jars and you can have your herbs. That'll get you through the winter until your herbs come back up in the spring. Alright. So we covered all of this, and these are my food grade, so I'm saving those. We're saving those for food that made for food. These right here I'm going to dry can up today, so this bucket will be empty. Store as much as you can in glass jars, because I'll tell you this much, and don't put all your eggs in one basket. Meaning, do not can everything up. Try to dehydrate some things as well. I've got a whole cabinet behind me of all my dehydrated goods. I don't keep a lot of stuff dehydrated, but enough to make some emergency soups and stews and stuff. And I do dehydrate my mushrooms. Container here, we have like corn muffin mixes and things like that. Well, you don't want to store your corn muffin mixes in the box. You see how that's already fallen apart? Your best bet with this is like any other grain. You're going to want to dry can this. Any of your homemade biscuit mixes, any of your cake mixes, any of your Jiffy corn muffin mixes, breadcrumbs. I'm gluten-free, so I got a whole bunch of gluten-free breadcrumbs so I would have them. Gluten-free Bisquick mix. I got these on sale because I love these when they make the pancakes. I put a little bit of pumpkin in with it, and my husband makes me pumpkin pancakes. I love my husband's pancakes. Thank you, dear. He made breakfast for me today, too. So you take all of these out. You put them in the right size jar for each mix. So this right here would be a pint-sized jar. And you would write the directions or cut the directions off the box. And you would, matter of fact, you can even put the directions down inside of the jar if you wanted to on the outside of the glass, and put this around it if you wanted to, and then you can have the directions of the cardboard box in the container. Because you're baking it in the oven, it would be fine. But you want to do this and you want to dry can this because you want your baked goods, as long as it has no oil, shortening, nuts, because nuts have oils and can go rancid. As long as it doesn't have any of those things in the mix, then you can dry can it. Okay? As long as there's nothing in there that will go rancid, you can dry can it. And again, go on that video and see how to oven dry can your goods. I can tell you this, when I dry can my gluten-free biscuit mix or even my homemade biscuit mixes, I'll look on here and I'll find the ingredients and I'll read it. Rice flour, sugar, leavening, soda aluminum, phosphate, okay, potato starch, salt, xanthan gum. Okay, everything in here can be dry canned. Now, let me tell you about dry canning. There's some things that you cannot dry can. Your grains you can dry can. Your biscuit mixes you can dry can. But you cannot dry can dried powdered milk. And you cannot dry can because it will just burn and turn black and taste horrible. And you cannot dry can sugar because sugar will melt. But if you have sugar in a baking mix or powdered milk in a baking mix, you can dry can it. And I'll tell you why. Because there's not enough. It's all mixed in here and the flours absorb that moisture around it. And it's okay. It will not burn it in the oven. It will not melt it in the oven. It works. Whereas if you do it, packed sugar and you dry can it, it just melts into a big hard clump. And the same with powdered milk. It literally burns. You'll see it turn brown. So if you've had success doing this, write us and let us know. I, however, have not had success. And other people I've talked to doing my homework on it, I just said, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to try it again because they haven't had success with it either. So, so if it has sugar or powdered milk in the product, you can dry can it. If it has oil, shortening, or nuts which have oil in it, you cannot dry can it. Make a note of that. And all this stuff right here will be dry canned. Again, you just look on the ingredients, you find the ingredients, and you look to see the cornmeal, and oh, here we go. This says it has animal shortening. So it has shortening. So what can we not do with a Jiffy corn muffin mix? We can't dry can it. We can't dry can it. But what can we do with this? Because it has shortening, we can't dry can it. If it has any nut products in it, we can't dry can it. Oh, I know what we can do with it. We can put it in the freezer and we can freeze it. Okay? So you can store these either in the freezer for what I would say up to a year or two, or, I mean, I've kept these in the bottom of my kitchen cabinet for a year or two. I mean, and they've stayed good. But for long-term food storage, put it in the freezer for 72 hours, take it out for 3 days. Make sure that there's no moisture and it's come to room temperature, there's no moisture left in here. And then, because this has corn, it has grains in it, it has flour and corn and stuff, and then vacuum seal it. Okay, and go here and I'm going to teach you how to vacuum seal. And you can vacuum seal it. And that will be good because you've killed the pests and the bugs and the larvae in here by freezing it first. Remember, you can't dry can it because it has a shortening in it, but you can freeze it. Okay, so take notes on all of this. Watch this video again if you have to. Take notes. Because I have so many people asking me, Jane, how are you storing this stuff for so long and you haven't had any loss? Because I'm following my advice, other people's advice, and I know what kind of foods. I mean, I'm a chef. I know what foods stay good for restaurants and what will go rancid. I know how to store foods. Food safety. I mean, to be a chef, you have to be food safety certified. So my daughter's food safety certified, and she's an event planner. So she's got the certification. This is one of the things that you learn, is how to store food in a restaurant or in your home kitchen or in a professional kitchen. And they teach you these things. You learn long-term and short-term food storage from your college. She's up at Purdue. So, and you know, that's an ag school. So you're learning food storage. So take a class. Get certified. Okay, become a certified canner like I am. Become certified. Call your local extension clubs and learn these things. Take some classes. Get some ladies together. If you know how to can, or you know how to do the food storage, or you're learning it and you know what you're doing and you feel confident with it, take a few ladies out shopping with you, some of your friends, and teach them how to long-term food save. Do you know 80% of the Americans are not storing food? And if shit hits the fan, what are they thinking? Oh, my neighbors will feed me. No, they won't. No, they won't. Okay? They're going to kill you when you come knocking on the door. It's self-preservation, and they have every right in martial law or anything like that. And you're thinking, oh, that will never happen. Well, people said Ebola wouldn't happen, and it did. People made fun of the guy down the road because he said an epidemic. It was time for an epidemic, and he prepped. And then an epidemic has come. Now, it may not spread just like anthrax, thank God, in 2001. That didn't spread. But it could have. And they were expecting, the government at Walter Reed Hospital was expecting 200,000 deaths. 200,000 deaths. And thank God, only a few people who were sent to anthrax. Only a few people. I think, what, maybe 21 people, I think, died from anthrax, I think. I don't know. Write me. Look that up, or somebody look that up. Or I will. I'll search it when I get a chance. But my husband probably knows that answer, don't you, John? Oh, he's not in here anymore. He went to his office to study. He's got a medical exam. So there's a lot going on. This is just what I'm saving so far. So we know that these things right here, we have to do something else with them. We can't just store them in the box and put it in the bucket. We can't do that, okay? We cannot do that. We've got to do something with it. So these I'm going to freeze, and then I'm going to vacuum seal, just to get rid of the bugs and things, because it has the shortening, which is the oils. It would go rancid. You can't do that in oven canning. This, however, I can oven can. And any of my homemade biscuit mixes and my homemade mixes, you're better off storing the items to make this than you are, because I mean, shortening, what is the shelf life of shortening? I've had a thing of butter flavored shortening up there for 3 years that I've not opened, and I opened it the other day and it was perfect, and that was 3 years ago. So I mean, it's almost scary that this stuff is preserved so long. It makes you wonder what you're eating, doesn't it? But obviously we don't eat a lot of shortening, or that would have been open by now, because that's not something that I stock up and save. But take the ingredients of all your recipes that you're going to be making for a week and multiply that times 52 weeks. And that's going to give you an estimate of how much salt, how much sugar, how much baking soda, how much baking powder. You know, what do you eat on the average week? Then take your average month, and then figure out what you're eating in the average month, and multiply that then times 12 for 12 months. And you'll know for a year how much stuff to store. Even your household cleaners, toilet paper, paper towel. Figure out what you're using every month of these things, and how much Snowball, how much Windex, how much pet food, how much dog food, how much you're eating, how many tubes of toothpaste do you go through. Take an account of that for 1 month. That's only 4 weeks of your life. Take every recipe that you made and write down how much went in each recipe for an entire month. Then add that up, and you're going to be shocked at how much you do eat of something and how much you don't eat of something. And only store what you do need and what you will use, because then you're wasting space. It's like a garden. You don't want to plant Brussels sprouts when you can plant beans if you like beans and you don't like Brussels sprouts. Unless somebody in your family really loves Brussels sprouts, you're wasting your time, okay? You're wasting garden space. All right, well, the same thing with your cleaners or anything else. You want to save room for what you are using. Don't can vegetable broth if you don't use vegetable broth. Don't can chicken if you don't eat chicken. You're wasting your time. If you like tuna better, canned tuna. Or buy a bunch of canned tuna, I don't know, but just only store in that small amount of space, picture it like a garden. Only store what you know you're going to use. So again, take your favorite recipes on a piece of paper and write down all the ingredients. And then all of your recipes for an entire month that you eat most often: spaghetti, lasagna, chicken Alfredo, soups, stews, meats, roast, vegetables, pork. Take all of that and figure out for the month what you're eating and multiply that times 12. That's going to tell you how much to can in meat. For roast, maybe you eat 8 roast a year. So you want to can up 8 roast. And then I always say add 20% because you're probably off there somewhere. Or you're going to find more people coming over because you got food and you don't, and you want to share if you can. And then I'm going to say this. So only store cleaners that you know you use, and if you can, buy the cleaners in volume that you know that you can refill into the spray bottles. And always keep a couple of spray bottles filled with you because these are so good for vinegar and oranges, orange peels or whatever, and that makes for a really good thing. Someone gets sick, be sure and keep the 4-in-1 disinfectant spray. This is new on the market. This works. We tested it. This works. My husband's a lab tech. This works. And it doesn't, it's got a citrus smell, and it's the first, Lysol makes me have severe migraine headache. This did not give me a severe migraine headache. So I'm not getting paid by this company, but I'm telling you I get severe migraines. And you'll notice anything that I store, this has a nice citrus smell. I love it. I love this stuff. It doesn't make me sick. There's no chemical sitting to it at all. Ooh, smells like citrus. Okay, so this is something for, it disinfects in one step. It reduces allergens, it sanitizes the air, and sanitizes fabrics. This is great. It kills 99.9% of viruses and bacteria. I'm going to go back to the dollar store where they had these on sale because they're new. I'm going to try to find some coupons online for them. Since they're new, I might find some coupons. And I'm going to buy a bucket loads of these because I know I'm going to use these here. And I hate it when they get rid of a product because people didn't buy enough of it, and I like it. So it's like shoes. I'm going to go back and get some more. Shoes and your favorite pair of jeans, everybody thinks I'm wearing the same pair of jeans. I actually just went out and bought 5 pairs of the same jeans because I thought I looked decent in them. So you ladies out there, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so something like this right here, of course, there you go. And you want to keep a bucket of cleaners because if somebody does come down with a virus or somebody comes down with a flu bug or anything like that, you want to keep your environment clean. Not too clean. I mean, we have to live with bacteria. We have bacteria and we have viruses. We have, we have MRSA. We have things on our skin. It's just when you get a cut and when it gets inside a cut. And there's the birds. The birds woke up. I woke up my birds. Okay, so that's what I have so far. Now I'm going to show you what I have in my closet. This is just one closet. I'm not going to show you my entire staff because this video is already really long and I apologize. But I had a lot of people with questions, and I just decided I would do a questions and answers video and just try to hit everything that I could at once. Because there's so many questions about food storage, and people cover small, short videos to make money. But if you stick with me here, this is more like a class. I wanted to teach you how I do it. And this is what works for me. By all means, do it however you like it. Okay? I'm gonna put this part in the beginning of the video. Do it however you like it. This is how I do it.